Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? Got a little Jazzy NYC for you to start this beautiful live stream. I'm so excited to be here. I got a lot to share with you guys today because I'm really pumped about this. So, before I begin, like always, let me know if you can hear me, you can see me, all that good stuff. As I said, I always got to change my settings around because of Facebook. Don't ask me why, it just is what it is. So, you can hear and see me, say so in the comments, whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching the replay. Other than that, I'm gonna get right into it because I have a lot to share. I'm doing trying to squeeze it all within 30 minutes, like I always do, because I know your time is valuable, as is mine. So I don't want to try to drag things out. Give you good stuff. 30 minutes, be in, be out. We can apply it right away. We can start moving. So before I jump into it for real, I guess I will kind of give a precursor saying what's going on in my business currently. So, and I'm telling you this not just because it's because it definitely relates to what's happening, and this is how I kind of came across this topic. Let's see. There is a area. So remember, in a few months back, I was talking about a parcel that was in a very high and very expensive HOA area. And at first, I was a little hesitant, but I went for it. I ended up selling it. Well, because I sold it to this one real estate agent who has a bunch of buyers looking for more land in that area, now I'm kind of on the hunt for more of that land because I know I'm not going to hold on to it for long. I already have buyers ready to go, which is always good. So, little side tip, if you can find somebody who's going to buy repeatedly, whether they have buyers on their own or they just like those type of people who just like to buy a lot of land, you take care of them. You always get them deals and you do your thing. Now, talking to this person, they were like, "Hey, do you have anything else?" And I actually did talk to somebody. I wasn't sure I was going to buy their property. They wanted 2,500 per lot. I was like, I usually buy these around 1,500 or so, but I was able to talk them down to 2,000 a lot. It was funny because I'm like, well, let me call you back a little bit, and then after talking to this real estate friend, then I was like, all right, if I buy these lots, I'll sell them to you for about 4,500 per lot. And he's like, oh, that sounds good. Let's do it. So I'm like, great. So I go back. I'm like, hey, um, will you take 1,900 for your lots? And the person's like 2,000. I'm like, all right, sold. And I kind of knew that she already told me that was her bottom dollar. I just wanted to make sure. So now spending $4,000, two lots, $2,000 each, 4,000. I'm going to turn that into 8,500. Now I'm telling you this because at first I was like, well, shit, where am I going to get this money? Because at the time I was kind of stuck. But I realized I had a lot that somebody defaulted on. They were trying. They said, hey, I'll pay you a couple payments. I'll pay off this lot, and they never did. And for one phone call later, again to another previous buyer, it was sold right then and that afternoon. Collected the money, but now Texas is actually going through crazy weather right now, so they're actually doing a lot of different things going on. So um, you know, it's slowing me down a bit, but that's fine. And then now that I might have another deal, so when I get to 8,500, I might use 5K of that to spend in another deal that could be worth even more. So we'll see. Now, why did I bring this up? Well, are you right now striking out on profitable land investments because things aren't just working out the way you expected? Um, are you like not getting the most out of whatever you're trying to do when you're trying to make a little extra money? Well, today I'm going to explain exactly how you are missing out on land investing opportunities in particular. But if you're not really doing land right now, which I don't know why you're here if you're not, um, how you're actually missing out on opportunities all around you, and it has to do with how you were trained to think. So we'll get into that. But before I do, let me switch gears a tad by giving you a story. Now, don't worry, it 100% relates to land investing, but it's not about this story doesn't involve land investing. As you may know, I play and coach basketball. Been doing it my whole life. I played a little semi-pro basketball. Now I have a great AAU basketball program here in San Francisco. One of our younger coaches who is still in college, he's a college player, is actually he opens actually I'm not gonna say opens, he rents out a gym, and which is tough to do during these COVID times, and we all kind of split the cost, right? So in one of these games, you notice there's other college age players. A lot of them go to JCs or junior colleges. So they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. And you'll see a lot of dribble, 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 shoot a three. Dribble, 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 shoot a three. Not a lot of ball movement, a lot of players. It's not fun to play with. It's not fun to watch. And even though I was there to play, I had to start coaching because I was like, hey, I'm not going to lose another game because you knuckleheads aren't playing the game properly. So with my, yelling at these guys, we started to get some stuff going. But at the end, I'm like, so, what's going on? Why are we playing like this? What's going on, young guys? And I'm like tell me more about what you're trying to achieve and how you're trying to get there. And they tell me about their work ethic. So I'm like, okay. And watching you play, it looks like you want to shoot Steph Curry like shots, but you're not putting in Steph Curry like work. And then the mic drop, because it's pretty good. Um, Now, what does that have to do with land investing? Well, I gotta admit, I was doing the same thing. I wanted Steph Curry like, I wouldn't say shots, but the rewards of, let's say, instead of Steph Curry, like a Warren Buffett or a Grant Cardone. I wanted those types of rewards, but I wasn't putting in Warren Buffett type work. I wasn't putting in Grant Cardone type work. And it wasn't until I kind of caught myself not following my own advice that I'm like, well, shit, things will have to change if I'm going to, otherwise I'm going to keep in this endless cycle. Yeah, I may not be struggling for cash, but I'm definitely not getting ahead. I got myself into a hole. I'm not climbing out of it. I'm just kind of not dying in the hole. So what can I do? So I'm thinking, all right, well, how can I be like Grant Cardone or Warren Buffett or you name the investor? And I'm gonna ask you the same thing. So in the comments below, think about an investor that you may like, that you feel will actually, somebody you would like to imitate. Put in the comments, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching the replay. Go ahead, put in the comments. And I use Warren Buffett just because he's just a big name. It's not like I personally like the guy or anything like that. I don't dislike him. He's just really good at what he does, and he's been doing it for a long time. So he's a great status symbol, so to speak, when it comes to investing. But when I was not doing the investment thing properly, treating it like the way Warren Buffett treats his investments, I know there's a certain level of stagnation. But I'm also seeing people who are, you making the same mistake, but they're not even getting to where I am at, because I guess it's part experience, part not. But what I want to share with you today is how you can actually start to invest more like Warren Buffett or Grant Cardone or the big name investor you were thinking of, so you can actually make progress in those financial goals. Now, you may be saying, but hey, why are we looking at these rich guys who have all this capital, all these resources, big name and all that? I don't have any of those things. And I'm like, well, that's true. I don't have those things either. But you saw my bank account. If you signed up and you got my free training on the escape velocity method, you saw my bank account. So I was working with like negative money, and I was still able to apply this type of thinking until I kind of didn't level up to get me out of that immediate hole. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, put it below in the comments. But if I want to say I practice kaizen, or as Tony Robbins called it, CANI, continual and never-ending improvement. I think that's how it stands for. I can't just be satisfied with making 10 grand a month, because that's not a lot. And let's be honest, when you're doing this business in the way I was doing it, you're gonna have good months and you're gonna have bad months. And then so yeah, good month I'm making 10, 15. A bad month I'm making about 3 or 4. That's too much of a variance, and it's all based on things that are up to me that I wasn't taking advantage of. Now, what I want to do is ask you these questions first before we jump in. Have you said something like this to yourself? Something I said to myself, and I have to catch myself. 1, I want to invest, but I need to pay off this blank first. Credit card, water bill, whatever it is. 2, I want to get started, but I got to save up a little bit more. 3, this all sounds good, but I'm not too sure. Any of those statements or anything similar to that, if that sounds familiar, put in the comments below. Let me know what resonates with you the most. Obviously, the first one really resonated with me. I said the other 2 at different times, but more so that first one. Now, the issue is, do you see the problem with these statements? Well, the issue is they're empty statements. They are the opposite of what an investor says. Can you ever hear Warren Buffett saying, I want to invest, but I need to pay off this credit card debt first? Now, maybe not credit card. Let's say some other thing first. No. If Grant Cardone finds a good investment, they're not worried about anything else, because they know they're going to get more money on the back end, right? So that's the mindset that I need to adopt. So what I want to share with you is not just the mindset and how I did it, but actual actionable steps that you can apply in land investing right now that will help you to not just apply these steps, but to actually help you get yourself out of that financial situation that you're in. Whether you're in financial trouble, you're doing okay, but you want to excel, or everything in between. So first off, I'll say this. success and greatness, they always leave clues. So I'm going to bring up certain other people who are not land investors or investors in general of who I try to model my game after. And I'm bringing that up because no matter who or what inspires you, if that person is world class at what they do, even if it's totally different than what you're trying to achieve, you can still take what they've done and actually apply their methodology, their principles. You won't be able to apply the details of what they do because you're doing something different. But in general, you can apply like their overall thought process, how they approach their craft. And I understand it's easier to find somebody in the same field that you're in, so you can just kind of do exactly what they do. But that's not always effective. And as land investors, we don't always get to have someone that's doing land investing that we can just like, hey, I'm gonna do exactly what they're doing, so I can get their results. So yeah, feel free to borrow from other people you find inspirational. But with that said, the first thing that you're gonna do, I need you to write this down. You have to develop the identity of a land investor. Now, let's think about this logically. If you come at land investing with the same identity that you have with your everyday life, you're probably going to have the results you're getting now. Case in point, let's make this more relatable. Let's say I don't know, have you ever tried to be on a diet and lose some weight? If you have, so put so in the comments. Let me know if you actually tried to lose weight. And if you have tried to lose weight, or maybe not you, but you know someone who has, what type of statements do people losing weight normally say? They say things like, well, I'm trying to cut back. I'm on a diet now. I'm going to see how this works. I'm trying to avoid these things. Notice the key words, I'm trying to. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. It's like they're going against their nature. Well, that's because they still have the identity of a person who is not a fitness person or a dieter or however you want to put it. They have their same old identity and they're hoping that willpower will power them through it. Well, newsflash, there's a lot of people who go through dieting and most don't succeed, but the ones who do, they often regain the weight and sometimes put on more weight at the end because they didn't change their identity. They didn't change who they believed they were on the inside. So all they did was kind of change how they ate for a bit, and then they regress back to who they truly believe they are. The beautiful thing is you don't have to be who you think you are. You can be anything that you want. So when a person who diets and they actually keep the weight off and they actually become more fitness minded, it's because they had an internal shift that they don't see themselves as that person who, has problem with their weight. Sure, they know that their body may react to foods a certain way. That hasn't changed, but they understand that, or if it's not even an understanding, it's more of a feeling. It's more of a gut belief that how they interact with the world is a person who is more fitness minded. So it's not about using willpower to actually stay away from food. It's about, I don't eat that stuff because that's just not who I am. That's not what I do. So when it comes to investments, the same thing needs to happen. So it's not just like, hey, I'm going to try this land investing thing out. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to do it when I get a little bit more money. No, that's not what an investor says. Think about what, I guess the best way to put this is, if you are going to be this powerful land investor, you need to start to think that way. You need to start to embody those beliefs. So to help you actually put that together, let's look at this. Number one, what are your goals as a land investor? Now it could be, hey, I need to make some money so I can pay for this, pay off these bills, buy some things for my kids. I just want to not work at my 9 to 5 because I don't like it. Whatever it is, I don't care. Right? We'll start that first, right? Now, if that's the type of land investor you are, you have your reasons. Think about what drives that land investor to do the work that's necessary to become a land investor. Think about how they see problems daily. Think about how they feel about finding deals out there. Think about how they approach their land research. Right? A lay person versus a real investor. How do they approach their research? I would imagine they do a lot more research, or actually do research on a daily. They may not do a ton of it every day, but spend 10, 20, 30 minutes researching a new area or getting more information in the area that they're interested in. Finding deals, looking to contact folks more often to see if they can get a deal in an area they like. Think about if they happen to come across a deal, Do they jump on it or do they wait? And if they do come across a deal that they don't have the cash for at the moment, the capital for, does that investor just let the deal pass them by? Or does that investor figure out a way to make it happen? When decisions come up, does that investor have, you know, do things based on emotion or based on facts, research, and numbers? When you start to think about the type of investor you want to be with these types of questions, it starts to put a nice clear picture in your mind. So now you can just say, hey, what would that investor do? What would my inner investor do when it comes across this problem? Sure, I still may be nervous about this, I may be a little scared, I may be unsure, but that inner investor would actually, if they're feeling a certain way, they will use that information to make a decision. So if they're feeling nervous, they will figure out what's making them nervous and do more research. Or if they did enough research, like, hey, I'm either going to pull the trigger or I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to waffle in this anymore. Or, you whatever have you, right? So the first thing, as I said, figure out your identity, exactly who you want to be. Ask those similar type of questions to help you understand what type of investor you want to be, and then have that envision in your mind. So anytime you come across, hey man, I don't feel like doing this today, or I'm not sure if I should jump into this, you're like, well, would that investor do it or not? They're driven by these goals. They need to pay this debt. They need to feed their kids. They need to quit their job so they can do what they want in life. All right, you know what? I'm going to put my fear aside and actually go for it, because that's what my inner investor does. And the beautiful thing is, the more times you make those decisions that are aligned with that investor identity, the stronger that identity becomes. And a lot of the issues that you're having now, that you're not finding deals, or you're not finding them quick enough, or you're not selling fast enough, start to dissipate, because you start doing investor things the way a successful investor does. And the issues that are coming up now, they're not just random issues. They're all based on things and how you're handling things currently. But if you handle things differently, you have different sets of problems, and usually they're good sets of problems to have. Next, ask yourself the real reason why you haven't pulled the trigger yet. But be honest, right? Are you going to say, hey, I don't have any money to invest right now, or I have to do this other thing first? But with your new, now you think about that. Now think about those same questions with your new investor identity. Does that still hold water? Again, like if you're using a Grant Cardone or Warren Buffett to kind of base your new investor identity on, do they wait for things to happen, or do they make things happen? Do they go into investments blindly, or they do the research but then they're ready to pull the trigger after a short amount of research, right? Short but effective amount of research. Now, I'm gonna tell you a personal story. For me, and this happened all the way up until a couple weeks ago. This is why I'm so excited to share this shit with you. I was like, yeah, you know what? I want some bigger deals. I've been doing these small deals. They help me out my whole, but I need some bigger deals. So I don't want to work as hard. I just wanted to do a couple sales a month, and make my margins that way, and then be good and make more by doing less work. I see a lot of other land investors doing it. I want to do the same thing. But then I always thought in the back of my mind, it had to look a specific way for that to happen. And the thing is, it wasn't like I had a clear plan on how that specific way must go down. It's just like a feeling. And it wasn't a good feeling. But thinking about it, it was me kind of punking out, being like, hey, I don't know, man. Maybe I just can't do it, right? I won't say this out loud, but that's how I was feeling inside. So what I wanted to do is like, all right, well, if I keep doing those things and I keep putting it off, or I keep saying I have to do this other thing first, well, I'll never be able to do those bigger land deals, because number one, I won't have the money to pay off the debts, or buy the things I need, or whatever it is. So if I don't have that, then I won't ever, the requirement of doing that first before I start to level up will never happen. So I get to stay stuck in this endless loop of mediocrity. That was killing my deals for me, because I kept looking for the same types of deals and wondering why I wasn't stumbling upon bigger and better land deals. Now for you, what is it? Again, you may say, hey, I got to do this first, or I need to save up that much first. But is that really true? Again, with that new land investor identity, is that true? All right. So this is what we can do now. Here's the next steps. But first, we ask these questions to help you understand what your land investing identity could be. But now let's make an actual plan. right? So whatever the excuse is for not starting, unless you're saying, you know what, land investing is just not for me, I don't want to do it. And if you're saying that, why are you even on this live stream? But if you're like, hey, I have to pay this bill first, I don't know if I can afford it, all this, I'm letting you know that's an excuse and it's bullshit. All right. So first, if you have no plan to get to that more money you need to invest, then you know you're lying to yourself. Now, if you do have a little cash and you've just been sitting on it and you're just kind of, I don't know if I should pull the trigger, I'm gonna try these other things. I'm gonna I'm gonna push you a little bit right now. All right. Well, I really can't do that from the live stream, but I invite you to kind of to do this now. First, what I want to do is help you make that plan because most of us don't have a plan. We have an idea, but we don't have an actual plan that we're taking steps on every day. It's just like, well, I just got to pay this off. Well, you don't think about how you're going to pay it off. You don't think about when that's going to get paid off, unless your plan is just to work more hours. And if that's that case, then good luck to you because you're going to be doing that for a long time and you're going to be burnt out. Like, why wait years to pay off a credit card when you can wait weeks or months with a little smart investing? Take a little bit more of your time in the front end, but saving years of interest payments and all that on the back end, or years of pain and struggle, or just frustration from just not doing what you want to do on the back end. So the first plan is whatever you are doing now, I would like you to save up a little bit, a couple $100, no more than 500, right? So I don't know how long that's going to take you. Now, if you want to expedite this process, you can definitely just pick up some Ubering. There's a Mechanical Turk from Amazon. There's a lot of ways you can make a quick buck online, or using the gig economy. Now, it ain't gonna be a lot of money. It'll be a little bit, but it'll be enough that you do that for a couple of weekends or whatever. Maybe dedicate a whole week to doing that after work or whatever it is, that you can actually save up that 100, 200, $500, right? Now, if you're going to do something with other people, please be safe, mask up. COVID is still out there, it's real. But once you have that money, the next thing I want you to do, I want you to look into these 4 states. Number 1, California. Number 2, Nevada. Number 3, Texas. Number 4, Florida. These are states where property sells quickly and they're, and most often, right? California and Florida makes sense because, it's California, it's Florida. These things are easy. Texas, even though right now they're going through some unfortunate weather, hopefully that weather lifts pretty soon. A lot of land there, and a lot of people are moving to Texas, so it's a booming area. Nevada's always pretty good because it's very easy to acquire property, and people always love to get property, especially near Vegas and Reno, right? But the whole state of Nevada sells. When I first got started land investing, that's where I was. All right, so you're going to pick those 4 areas. Next thing, what you're going to do, you're going to go to Zillow, like I showed you before in the escape velocity video, but there's more to it. And you're going to try to find an area that you like. Maybe if you're going to stay in Nevada, look for places near Reno, but not too close to Reno, especially if you're going to stay with these low dollar amounts, right? So you might have to go about 100 miles outside of Reno. Same thing with Vegas, right? So now you'll be in different counties. Like Vegas is in Clark County, so you might be in Nye County, which is right next to Vegas. Doing that to actually find land that's going to be affordable to that $300, $400, or $500 that you have. Next, find the different subdivisions that will have property that is selling currently for about $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, because that means that you don't have to pay a couple $100 for property, especially if that landowner lives out of state and they owe back taxes. They're going to be a lot more motivated to sell, and in some cases, you may even get the property for free. Now, how often do you get property for free? Not that often, but it does happen. It doesn't have, you don't have to be like this seasoned investor to get it for free. You just got to talk to enough people and you could get it for free. But otherwise, you have a couple $100 that you can't throw their way to pay for the property, and you have an extra $100 or so to actually use different techniques to actually contact these folks. Now, once you have that, you have a plan, because you'll buy property pretty soon and you'll turn that 500 into that 2,500 or to that 2,000 or 3,000, depending on what you're buying. And with that, you have now a lot more money than what you started. Now you're actually doing that. That means you have a plan, because you may not know how quickly you can buy the property. You may not know how quickly you'll be able to sell that property. But what you do know is that you have a step-by-step process that you can follow every day. So like every day you can do a little bit of research, finding the different areas where you can find property that you can afford that you know will sell for a lot more than what you're buying it for. Every day you can be contacting different people via text messaging or mailing or ringless voicemail or even email, even though email is not very effective, but it's still better than nothing, right? So every day you can be doing a little bit. You ain't got to do a lot, just a little bit. Every day you can be finding different pockets that you're not seeing in one area and another. So maybe you're doing two at the same time. Once you buy the property, you could be marketing it in free platforms like Craigslist, Facebook, Zillow, right? Those things are free, and you can be doing a little bit every day. But again, that's the plan step by step that's going to help you turn that investment into actual cash in your hands. Now, again, let's rewind a little bit more. When you are actually looking to be that investor and you take on that investor identity, those daily tasks become who you are. They become a part of you. You feel bad for not doing it. Like, oh my God, I didn't do my land stuff today, man. Oh my God, what am I doing? As opposed to it being the other way around, which it may be for you right now, where you're like, you forget to do your land stuff, or you think about it, and you feel like, I don't feel like doing it right now. I'd just rather do this other thing. But that other thing probably ain't making you money, right? And I've been through that. I've been through that. That's why I'm talking about this. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure you have that investor hat. Oh, and one last piece of advice. If you are buying a smaller property, make sure, well, I will say make sure, it's always beneficial if that person or you can actually put a mobile home or trailer on that small lot. Those sell just like that. They're quick. If you can't put a mobile home or trailer, they will sell. It just takes a little bit longer. Um, but you never worry about all land sales. So, but if you know that small area has mobile homes and trailers, uh, definitely go for that. But yeah, with that few $100 that you took a couple weekends to create, maybe you worked overtime, maybe you did some Ubering, maybe you just had a little bit of savings. You put that together, you have a plan now, and you're thinking more like an investor. So now you're not letting opportunities slip by you because you're actively seeking them out. That's the only way to do it. Now, finally, I kind of hit on this before. You create that daily routine to become that investor, right? That will always solidify that belief that you are that land investor. It will make things easier for you. It becomes habit, so it's hard not to do those things. And then next thing you know, the decisions you do now, the decisions you make now, will pay off big time in a couple months. And then by the next this time next year, you won't even recognize yourself, right? The things that stopped you now will embarrass you because you're like, how could I let myself not go when all this money was out there that I just wasn't taking advantage of? So to help you get that daily routine, yeah, you can do the things I mentioned before, but I like to follow Steph Curry. I love what he does in basketball, so I'm like, all right, greatness, all of these clues. Again, even though he's not a land investor, I can still apply what he does to prepare for games to land investing. So what he does, he has 8 steps before he prepares for every game. One, he treats every game the same regardless of the stakes. So preseason, regular season, playoffs, championship, he treats every game the same. Got to go all out. Number two, he gets sufficient rest before the game. Number three, he eats right and hydrates all throughout the day, especially leading up to the game. Number four, he has a great stretching routine. Number five, he has a great warm up routine. Number six, he visualizes the game unfolding. So he thinks about what he's got to do and how it's going to work and how he's going to, overcome any obstacles. Number eight, he has breathing exercises. So obviously, I'm not playing a basketball game in this, but what I am doing is number one, when I treat the way Steph treats every game the same, any deal that comes across my desk, I treat it the same. I give it the same amount of research. I have the same criteria or the same system that I put it through, and I make sure that it's going to be a good deal, right? I do this every day. Number two, sufficient rest and eating right and stretching. So I keep my number one, I stay on my non-negotiables, meaning like I make sure my body's right, I sleep right, I eat right, because if I'm sick or if I'm groggy, I'm not going to make great decisions. So that automatically helps me out there, and I stay hydrated because water keeps your brain fresh. Stretching, I keep my mind stretched so I can see different opportunities in different ways and different angles to find these different opportunities out there. Right, so it's the same thing right there. So that's what my stretching routine is. And how do I stretch my mind? I read, listen to podcasts. I have time to myself where I just think. I don't do anything. I'm not, doing anything. Sometimes I might be playing solitaire, but I'm letting my brain work. Right, that's my brain stretching routine. And obviously, I can do physical stretches but it's not. That's, whatever. Um, Develop an effective warm up sequence every day. So every day, I'm doing my mailing, I'm doing my marketing. I'm getting better at that, doing ways or putting things in front of me so I don't forget little details here and there. Like this property, I need to mail out to the mailing, or excuse me, to the neighbors to sell it to the neighbors, and this other property, I need to, go get a check for it, whatever, right? Lives every day. I study my opponents by studying the market, studying what's going on, how much price per acre, and all that. Visualize the game unfolding. I always see myself making these great deals, and breathing exercises. I don't need to change that. Those mindfulness exercises keep me from getting anxious, especially when I'm like, oh my gosh, things aren't working the way I expected. I get nervous. Breathe. It works. Now it's your turn. A little over time. I apologize. But if you are really ready to make this happen, I'm going to invite you to start to apply the things we talked about today. Really ask yourself the questions that I asked, like, to create that investment identity, right? What are the goals you have? What type of things drives you? What types of things does that investor think about daily? How does that investor approach their research? If they find a deal, do they wait on that, or do they jump on it as soon as they can? Does that investor get emotional, right? All those questions that earlier, I invite you to start to really write these down and start to really form out that investor's identity. Now, if you don't want to do that, you don't want to do land investing, it's all good. But I need you to stop lying to yourself and saying that you got to fix these problems. Because if you really want to fix these problems, I'm giving you a solution right here. And I'm telling you it works, and I've proven it works not just with me, but with others. But if you're still here kind of messing around, well, I don't think you're that serious. And that's okay. It's not wrong. Nothing wrong, but just be honest with yourself. You'll sleep better at night. So, listen, there's no right or wrong. I gave you what I'm doing that's working well for me. I gave you actual concrete steps of how you can take a few $100 right now and help you apply it to a financial situation you may have, and even how to get that starting capital. So there's no excuse. But it may not be your time. Again, there's no right or wrong. It's just results. And if you look around your life and you're noticing that things aren't the way you expected them to be, well, those are results from decisions you've made earlier. If everything is great in your life and you wouldn't change a thing, those are also based on results, or those are results based on decisions you made earlier. Yeah, not right or wrong. Basically, are you getting what you want out of life? So ask yourself that question. And if you're not, I do believe investing will help you get to that point. But you got to try it for yourself. And I'm doing my best to help you guys understand that. But other than that, that's all I got. So if you found this valuable, go ahead and share it with anybody that that you feel would really benefit from this, because I really think a lot more people, they get so caught up on the tactics as opposed to the underlying principles of how to really be and how to really take advantage of and how to really invest, that they stop themselves over things that aren't necessarily true. With that said, it's your boy Coach Vic. I'm signing out. I got nothing else for you. Hopefully you guys found this valuable, and if you did, say so in the comments. If not, let me know. Like, hey, I don't want to hear this. I want to hear something else. I'll take it under advisement. All right. Other than that, peace.